Stepsons, if you haven't done a lot of cooking, here's a quick, easy, and delicious meal that you can make in less than an hour. Let's make some spaghetti. You're gonna need a pot to cook the spaghetti in, a pan to cook the sauce in, and the most important thing you're gonna need is the My Stepdad cooking apron. You can get this at the My Stepdad store. Whenever you're cooking, you wanna start with whatever takes the longest. So we're gonna start the water heating so we can cook the spaghetti, and then we'll start browning the hamburger. You always wanna have all your food ready at the same time so that when you sit down to eat, everything's warm and ready at once. That's the goal. After you've got water in your pan, and leave an inch and a half from the top, then put on the stove. I'm just gonna preheat this a little bit because I've got some time to cook the meat first. In the water that you use to cook the spaghetti, put a little bit of salt, and I also put just a little bit of vegetable oil in to stop the noodles from sticking together too much. I'm gonna cover this, rotate it so the handle doesn't get in my way, and let that start to preheat. Cook the ground beef in a frying pan or saucepan that's big enough to hold the pound of ground beef and all of the sauce. I do this when I'm browning ground beef, do it over medium to medium-high heat. If I'm gonna be watching it closely, I'll do it higher heat. If I'm not watching as much, I'll do it over medium heat. If you want a really easy sauce, you can just go with what's in the bottle. We're gonna add a couple of things just to kick it up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of onion powder to it. If I had a fresh onion, I'd probably chop that up and brown that with the ground beef. I'm also gonna put a clove of garlic in. So with a clove of garlic, if you buy this fresh in the store, they break off little pieces like that. Over time, this is gonna dry out, but since I've got fresh garlic, I wanna use it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use 2 little cloves. I just cut the end off and then peel it until it feels moist or sticky. Ooh, that smells good. No vampires in this house. Okay, once you've got the paper off, we're gonna smash it and then chop it. When I say paper, that's the outer skin is referred to as the paper. Got down to just the garlic. Now I'll take my nice knife and you just mash it first. So I put the blade down like this and squish it. Careful not to cut your hand. Once I've done that, then I'll chop it. To know that your hamburger is browned adequately, you want to keep stirring it around until you don't have any pink spots left, like in that clump. And you just stir it around occasionally while it's browning. I also get a plate and rest my utensils on that plate. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put the garlic in, and also the onion powder, or this is actually granulated onion. A tablespoon of granulated onion is approximately equal to 1 medium onion. I'm going to put that in here too. Now you may want to wait until after and drain it and then add those things. I'm going to go ahead and add them in before so they can be cooking into it. You chefs that are watching this, you put in your comments what you would do. If that's the right way, the wrong way. Right now, that's the Stepdad way. All right, the ground beef is browned sufficiently. In fact, there's starting to see some on the bottom there, which is okay. So I'm going to turn the stove down a little bit, and then I'm going to drain this by putting it on just a slope and letting the grease drain out of that. In fact, I'll turn the stove off while I do that so I don't overcook the beef. But as the fat drains down there, I can spoon out if there's enough to spoon out. Sometimes you can encourage it by squishing it. But you don't want to get meat in the drippings because that's less meat for you to eat. So I've got a little bit of grease. I'm going to use a spoon, and I've got an old soup can, and I just scoop this out so that we can drain as much of the grease as we can. Now with it drained, my garlic in, my onion powder, I'm going to turn the heat back on. The pasta water is almost boiling, so I can put the noodles in there, but I'm going to add the sauce straight out of the bottle into this pan so it can start heating through and simmering with the ground beef. With the water boiling, we can put the noodles in. I'm going to do about a half a package of noodles to go with the bottle of spaghetti and the pound of ground beef. Now when you do these, you can do them 2 ways. Put them all in and have them lengthy, or you can break them in half and have them shorter. One of the things you're going to want to get is a spaghetti noodle spoon. I'll put a link to this in the description. If that keeps boiling, I'm going to turn this down because it'll boil at a lower temperature. And I want to set the timer for about 10 minutes. I'm going to stir the sauce in with the meat, put the lid on this and let it simmer while the noodles are boiling. A good practice is to put things away while you're cooking. If you've got a few minutes while things are simmering, then clean up some of the utensils you've used, put some of the ingredients away. If you're getting value from this video, do me a favor and give it a like. A couple of things go really well with spaghetti. A green salad is good, and garlic bread is also good. If you haven't seen how to make a green salad, then watch this video about how to make a green salad. If you want to make some garlic bread to go with it, you can just cut your French bread into slices. If you want to be fancy, you can cut them at an angle. I'm not fancy. When the noodles are done, or when they're about done, you can test them. The old-fashioned way was to throw it against the wall and see if it stuck. But I don't do that in the Stepdad house now. You just want to see if the consistency is what you want it. That feels pretty good. So we can turn that off. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute while I finish the garlic bread. After you've sliced it, you can just butter one side, kind of generous, depending on your tastes. After you've buttered it, sprinkle just a little bit of garlic powder on the butter, and then pop them in the toaster. Drain the spaghetti noodles. You can either do it in a colander if you have one of those. You want to make sure the holes are not too big for the noodles to go through. This pan has a built-in colander. I'm just going to dump it through the small straining side that's built into the lid for this pan set. When your food is cooked, with spaghetti you've got two options. If you're feeding a family, I'd put the sauce in the noodles and mix it all together. If you want a romantic dinner with your special person, then you put the noodles on the plate first, and then the sauce on the noodles after. There's a couple of other things you could put in spaghetti sauce if you like it. Black olives cut up are nice. Fresh mushrooms or even canned mushrooms are other add-ins that you can put in with the sauce if you want to kick it up another notch. I don't have grated Parmesan cheese. Normally that's what we have on our spaghetti every time. But we do have a couple of other options, just mild cheddar, which we can grate. I also have some feta cheese, which I usually have on salad, but I don't usually have it on spaghetti. But we may give that a try tonight. Here you go. And there you have it, a delicious, easy meal that will impress your sweetheart. And taste good. If you haven't subscribed to the Stepdad channel yet, make sure you do, especially if you're a young man growing up and your dad's not in your daily life. You'll get more tips, tricks, and fatherly advice as you figure out how to be an adult. If you want to see how to make another impressive meal, then watch this video where my son Jacob showed me how to make the perfect steak with only 3 ingredients. Bon appetit!